You're listening to Straight from the Drafts. I'm your host Nao, social media strategist, business cheerleader and chronic oversharer. In this weekly voice note from me, you can expect actionable insights and behind the scenes stories, my best tips and all the encouragement, all with the goal of helping you plan your content with confidence so that you can turn your goals into reality with the support from your social media. So grab a drink, pop in your headphones and let's get into this week's episode. Welcome back to another episode. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Thank you for being here. There is a number of people who I know that tune in every single week as these episodes get released and kind of keep up with it every week. And you make me very happy. But whether you're listening to this for the first time, whether you are jumping around and listening to episodes in whichever order, or you are one of those people who has been listening week in, week out, and is now joining me for week 7, then thank you. It honestly means the world. And if you enjoyed this episode, or if you've listened before and have not yet subscribed, hit follow, whatever it is on the platform that you're listening to, I would really appreciate it if you could do that or leave a review. This podcast is very much just a labour of love right now. It's something that I do for fun. I do to share some of my best tips, my insights, not just necessarily on social media stuff, but just running the business and the behind the scenes of the business, because I love listening to other people's podcasts. So it's really fun to have my own. And now that we're on to episode 7, it feels like this is actually happening. This no longer feels like one of those ideas that, oh, I would love to do this in theory, and then it doesn't really go anywhere. Like, I am sticking to this. I am committed. The episodes are not recorded as far ahead of time as I thought when I first set out. I was like, oh, I'm going to be like always a month ahead of myself. I'm not that organised when it comes to the podcast content, but we're getting there, and learning how to edit it, all of these things has been a fun little challenge. So I don't really know why I wanted to start today's episode with a little thank you speech, but it just felt right. So thank you for being here. And today's episode is going to be all about the tools and some of the systems that I could not run my business without. And I don't just want to focus on like creating content for clients, but generally behind the scenes of the business. And yeah, I'm just going to keep it quite simple, doing a bit of a nosy behind the scenes sort of episode, because I love knowing the inner workings of someone's business, what tools and systems they use, what their processes are. I find it fascinating. Anytime someone shares like a finances breakdown or a debrief of their latest launch, any of that sort of thing, I friggin' love it. So today I'm sharing some of my tech stack and really focusing on, the tools and the systems that I could not function without. These are things that I open multiple times a day or multiple times a week behind the scenes. And honestly, it really surprised me how long this list was. I was thinking like, oh, maybe I'll just do my favourite 3 or even like top 5. It's quite struggly. It's definitely made me think about my tech stack and where maybe I can simplify some things. But also it's actually quite interesting to notice how much it has grown. And some of that is really necessary. When I first started this business, I think my outgoings were literally like £15 a month. I paid for my business bank account, which was £5 a month, and Canva, which was £10.99, I think, at the time. And my outgoings now obviously a lot higher than that, painfully higher than that. If my outgoings were £15 a month, like, oh, that would be a dream. That would be a dream. But I do think you have to invest as you grow. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how the tools and systems that I've used have changed as I go through as well. We don't have a DM dilemma this week, so we are going to jump straight in to the tools and systems that I can't live without. And it probably comes as no surprise that I'm going to start with Canva. Now, I feel like Canva is one of those things that over the years, almost everyone now dabbles with, because the free version is pretty good. So my friends have started using it to like create their save the dates or bits and bobs for their hen do's, and I feel like they would not describe themselves as creative people. They still have very corporate jobs. So even outside of the business owner world, I feel like a lot of people now know what Canva is. I personally still think it's very much worth the investment to get the paid version. I now pay for it annually up front, which I think saves nearly 2 months worth of cost. Before that, I think I was paying $10.99 a month. So I feel like it's worth it. It unlocks so much. Different fonts, different like icons, backgrounds, effects that you can do, like background remover. All of that stuff is in the paid version. So for me, $10.99 a month was worth it, or if you can pay for it annually, then you can save yourself a bit of money that way as well. I think with the focus on video content right now, it might seem a bit like, well, do I need Canva? Like, graphics are dying. And I do get that. Really, like, raw, low design style content is really having a moment right now. You can do a lot more within the Instagram app, and then obviously video editing apps separately to that as well. But I personally still feel like Canva is worth it. I use it every single day for my clients' content and my own content. I will be pushing stuff out that has some element of Canva almost every single post, even if it is just the reel cover. And the reel I might have edited completely within a completely different software, but the cover is something that I've most likely done in Canva. It's great for highlight covers. It's great for your brand kit, having everything all in one place. You can design freebies in there. I'm not sure whether there will ever be a time in my business where I don't use Canva in some shape or form. Maybe I'm wrong, watch this space, but I've been using it since 2019, and I think I've been using the paid version almost entirely that whole time. So I can't see myself coming away from it anytime soon. There are other versions of that now. Is it Adobe Express? Is that what it's called? The Adobe version? My life is in Canva now. I am now designing all of my own wedding stationery in there, and every time it's someone's birthday and we put together like a little voucher from the family, of course, Nao opens Canva. So yeah, it's not only just running my business without it, I can't run my life without it. I'm a Canva baby. On a very similar vein is CapCut. Now, I'll be honest, I actually think I've been sleeping on this until relatively recently. Arish, who supports me with reel editing and graphic design, uses it a lot, and I think I've just kind of relied more on, oh well, like Arish is doing that, so I don't necessarily need to get to know the app as much. But now that I have started dabbling in it as well with certain client content, I'm loving it. And I think, unfortunately, this is one where the pro version is necessary. The free version is almost entirely useless now. The only thing that I think you can still do pretty well with the free version is finding good meme templates. So if you've ever seen those reels that are kind of like funny clips, they might be like little clips from films, TV shows, that sort of thing. They often come from CapCut, and I still use it for that. But now I am paying for it, and again, it's another one that is well worth the investment. It's a similar price to Canva monthly. It's about £10-11 a month, I believe. But it's one of those that you can do automated captions, and the captions are a lot easier to read and a lot more accurate and easy to edit than on Instagram. I found a lot in the past when I'm adding captions to reels on Instagram, I'll go in and edit and update any typos that they've got wrong. Because, to be honest, my name is always typed wrong on Instagram captions. So I'll go in, fix all of it, and then as soon as I hit done, it reverts back to how it was, and there's typos everywhere, and the captions become almost pointless because they're not actually saying what I'm saying. So they're not that helpful. Whereas with CapCut, it's so easy, particularly on desktop, and I cannot recommend the desktop version enough. That's changed my life recently. It makes everything so much easier and so much quicker. The desktop version, you literally can click in, fix your typos, change the font size, change the colour, add an outline to the text, add a background. There's just so much that you can do to make your subtitles, your captions really on brand, really easy to read. And I think with the rise of video, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it feels like video content has become almost like Hollywood movie trailer level good recently. The quality of video content has ramped up. Gone are the days where you can just use like a 5-second B-roll clip with a bit of text over the top that you can create just in Instagram really easily. I'm not saying that content doesn't exist anymore and doesn't have value, because it absolutely does. But I do think that slightly longer form, chatty content, voiceovers, that sort of thing, is really having its moment right now. And to get the most from it, to really like stop people in their scroll, we've got to up our game. And for me, I use CapCut. There is the Instagram Edits app, which I think is really trying to rival CapCut, because CapCut is affiliated with TikTok rather than Instagram. Obviously, you can just export the videos and still upload them to Instagram. But Instagram Edits, I think, aims to be the go-to place for editing your reels. That only came out in April. I think it was due to come out in March, same as this podcast originally, but we were both late on our deadlines and released in April. So Edits is there. If you haven't heard of that, you can give that a whirl. And they're adding lots of new cool features to that. It's definitely a lot better, provides a lot more options than if you were to edit content within the Instagram app. If you wanted to do things that are a bit fancier without paying for CapCut, then do give Edits a whirl. But for me, it's just a bit too fiddly and a bit too glitchy right now for the volume of content that I create every week. So CapCut is where it's at. And I think that's actually it when it comes to content creation. Canva and CapCut are a good duo. Canva more for the graphics and CapCut for videos. And that isn't everything that they do. They're capable of so much more. Particularly Canva, they've brought out so many new features recently that I'm definitely not making the most of. Moving on to the tool that I definitely check multiple times a day, and that's my project management tool of choice, Asana. When I think about how I manage clients' content, my own content, all that kind of thing, there's no comparison to where I started with this versus how I use Asana now. And if you've not heard of Asana, it's kind of the equivalent of ClickUp or Notion, any of those kind of things. For me, it has just the right number of features. So I find Notion quite overwhelming, and I've tried it many times over the years, and I've every time thought like, I just don't think I'm using it properly. I feel like I should be using it more, and I don't really get it. I feel like the gals who love Notion, I'm a little bit envious of, because I feel like it's a life-changing tool, but it's not one that I've ever been able to wrap my head around. And then ClickUp as well, I really struggled with the mobile app. I found it a bit clunky, and it never seemed to work that great for me. Whereas the Asana mobile app, I find really intuitive. It's really easy. If I've ever needed to send updates to my team while I've been out of the office, it's been really easy to do from my phone. Because there's certain things, like, to be honest, trying to edit reels on CapCut on my phone that kind of make me want to throw my phone out the window, into the pool, wherever it is that I am. Like, if I've been on holiday before trying to edit reels, my phone is being launched. Whereas Asana, it's not too fiddly. It's definitely easier on desktop, but I feel like that is just the case with everything. Asana is another one that has a really good free plan, and I don't tend to recommend to my clients that they pay for anything. I do pay for Asana because I run so much through it now. It is literally where my brain lives. Everything about the business is on Asana, and each of my clients have their own portals within that tool. So I pay for it, and I can use like the cool features. We have like custom fields and everything so that we can tag things to say what type of content it is, what status it's at. So whether it's sat with me, whether it's waiting for a design, waiting for the client to review, that sort of thing. And I really love that side of it. That seems to work really well. But because I have that and then I add my clients to those portals that are set up, they don't then need to pay for it. They can still use those features within their own portal. Overall, It's really helpful. The mobile app's great. It's good so that clients can approve content when they're out and about, and I can interact with my team when I'm out and about. And when I think about how I used to do this, when I first started the business, I planned all my clients' content out in a Google Sheet. So like created a table within a spreadsheet, and it did work. It was fine. It was organised, but it was so fiddly to do on the go. And so many of my clients want to be able to do their content reviewing when they're on the move so that they can multitask. Maybe it's when they're at the hairdressers or when they're on the train to client meetings. It works well to have the option. And spreadsheets on phones, they're not the one. And also trying to add in content to the spreadsheets was quite fiddly. So it was always a case of adding a link to a Google Drive and having the content sat in a Google Drive. So having Asana has definitely leveled up where I was 3 years ago. And yeah, I've gone through a couple of different iterations over the years. I did start on the free plan, but I think it was last summer I started paying for it, maybe the end of last summer. And yeah, no regrets. I think I pay about £24 for it. £24 a month. It is something that I use all the time. Me and my team use it to plan out what tasks we've all got for the week. I use it to brain dump ideas for content and then kind of build from there. I use it for clients who are on a content plan, clients who are on management. It's just everything. So if you haven't found a project management tool that you get along with yet, if you've ever felt the same about Notion, or maybe you've never given Notion a go, whichever platform it is that you have tried before, I do think, as much as everyone says like, oh yeah, they're all the same, there is a perfect one out there for you, and I cannot recommend enough trying to find it, because when you can get really organised behind the scenes, and this is something that I'm probably going to dive into maybe even in next week's episode, it's something that I want to talk a lot more detail about. If you can get organised behind the scenes in your business generally, but also specifically with your content, it makes such a difference when it comes to content creation. Everything gets easier, everything gets quicker when there's some organisation behind it. That's a pretty good segue onto a completely different topic, but let's talk finances. This idea of everything being quicker and easier when there's some organisation completely applies to the tools that I use for my finances. So number one, having a separate business bank account. Now, Social by Now is a registered company, it's a limited company, so I'm not just doing this as a sole trader. I say just. When you are a sole trader, I believe, this is not financial advice, but I believe you have the option of whether or not you use a business bank account. Whereas when you're a limited company, you have to have a separate business bank account, I believe. Not sure on that. But yeah, I've always had a separate business bank account from day one. And yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't, to be honest. And it's definitely helped me massively. When I'm saving for tax, that sits in the business bank account in a separate tax pot, and it feels so separate, and it also takes some of the emotion out of finances as well. Like if I can see that money sat in the business bank account, I'm like, that's not mine, that's the business's, and I have to think about how I'm spending that, and I have to think about, okay, have I saved for my tax? Do I want to save for a different investment? For example, when I got my branding and my website built, like that was an expensive old quarter because there was a lot of money going out of the business bank account, but that is exactly what that was for. And yeah, I think it really helps to kind of think about it differently than if it's money sat in your own bank account where you're like, oh, do I want a new pair of shoes? Although I will say I'm being very good this year. As a side note, I'm only allowed to spend on clothes. I wasn't a huge spender anyway, but I was bad for going to Tesco for like a couple of bits, or any supermarket for that matter, and looking around the clothes section. Supermarket clothes, they are my kryptonite, it seems. So yeah, this year I implemented a rule because we're getting married next year, and I actually don't have that much spare money as it is. We've got 5 weddings to attend, I've got hen dos, there's a lot going on. So I set myself a rule that I was only allowed to spend as much as I make on Vinted. So if I sell 30 quid's worth of stuff on Vinted, then that's the budget that I have to spend on new clothes and stuff. And so far this year, we are now at the start of June, I have spent a grand total of £37.50 on new clothes and shoes. I'm really proud of myself, but that was just a little side note. I just think you think about your personal money differently to your business's money when it is actually separate and in different business bank accounts. On the back of that, I have a Monzo business bank account. I am thinking about switching to Starling at the moment, so if anyone uses either or has used both in the past and has a preference and which one felt better, then do let me know. But yeah, I think I'm looking at switching from Monzo to Starling. I've been with Monzo since I set my business up, so yeah, about 3 and a bit years now, and I've not really had any issues with it, but it's now £9 a month for the business bank account, and I think I can probably just use the free version on Starling. I could probably use the free version on Monzo, to be honest. I need to look into that. But yeah, business bank account, there are free versions out there. Free versions? Why do I keep saying versions? Free business bank account, but there are some which have a small monthly fee as well, and that's probably more if you are taking money internationally and dealing with money internationally. That tends to be where the fees come in. Something to look into. And off the back of that, I use Xero, the accounting software, to organise my finances, and yeah, I do everything through there. So I pay myself through payroll now, and I do all of that through Xero as well. And that has really been a game changer for me. So I've mentioned before on the podcast that my partner, who is an accountant, helps me with the finances side of things and like looking at the numbers and kind of reassuring me that things are okay in the business. So before I had Xero, he had like a very intricate spreadsheet that talked to my Monzo bank account and categorized everything, and we did like a little monthly reconciliation where I would like make sure I had receipts for everything, and I would chat him through what the different expenses were and all that kind of thing. And I actually felt a bit distant from the numbers because he was doing everything, whereas now it's in Xero. I find it a lot easier to interact with myself. So when I'm doing the like uploading receipts and I'm doing my client invoicing through there as well, I'm a lot more exposed to everything that's going on. Now obviously it is just me behind the business, so I should know what's coming in and out because I'm the one who's doing the invoices and I'm the one who's spending the money when it's being spent. So that probably sounds silly to say that I felt really distanced before because all of the purchases and revenue was still going through me, but I just wasn't looking at it in the same detail and I wasn't keeping an eye on it as often as I do now that I'm running everything through Xero. So yeah, I've had the separate business bank account from the beginning, but I only got Xero just over a year ago, I think it was. So I've done a whole financial year through it now and would definitely recommend looking into some sort of accounting software to help you keep everything organised. I don't know if you can hear my laptop, but it is doing that thing where it wants to take off again, so apologies if you've got an annoying little whirring sound in the background to this little section of the podcast. We have talked about content creation and the tools that I use for that. We've talked about my project management tool of choice, finances. So finally, the thing that I want to talk about is client communications. Now, I talk to, all of my clients definitely on a weekly basis. Some of them, it's more like daily. It depends what we've going on. If we're in the middle of a launch, I talk to them a lot more because I'm kind of asking how things are going, checking in on numbers. We do always have our monthly catch-ups, so that is kind of where the bulk of the updates are happening, finding out what's going on in their business, what they've got coming up. But I do still talk to my clients on a regular basis outside of those catch-ups as well. And currently I use WhatsApp for business. Now, I don't have 2 separate phones. I definitely think that is where I will go eventually. And when I say eventually, I would love to be able to do that in the next year. It's something that I want to start a little pot in my Monzo. You can start little pots to save for certain things, and I think that might be my next one, is to save up for a business phone to help with the separation. But currently what I have is a virtual phone number. I have WhatsApp for Business, which means it's a separate app, so it kind of looks exactly the same as regular WhatsApp, but I am on there as Social by Nao, and it's not my phone number that my friends and family have. And it gives me a level of separation that I think is necessary. And it also means that if in an evening I am catching up with my friends and I'm in the group chats, they're not all mixed up with client conversations. It means I can ignore anything that's coming through on the business WhatsApp while I chat with friends. And it also means that I'm not getting distracted in an evening if I want to switch off. Sometimes I do check the business WhatsApps, because I do always say to clients, like, feel free to send messages anytime. Just know that, you're not guaranteed a response outside of working hours. Sometimes I do check them, but it's a lot easier to keep things separate when it's two different apps. And for WhatsApp for Business, this may have changed now, but when I first started using it, you have to have that separate phone number. And I also quite like having a separate phone number. I feel more comfortable giving clients a phone number that isn't my personal one. And yeah, I've got this virtual phone number through, it's a company called Your Business Number. And I can't remember what the monthly fee is for that. Look at me saying, I'm all over my numbers, but it has not long changed. I want to say it's about £8-ish a month now. The fee has changed a couple of times in the couple of years that I've been using it, but it's great. It's a virtual phone number, so it's connected to my number. So if anyone rang the virtual number, it forwards to me still. But yeah, it just gives me a little bit of separation. It means I can give clients my work number, even though I don't yet have two phones. Obviously, that will become redundant when I eventually do get a work phone, so that's something that I won't need to pay for forever. But right now it's cheaper than paying for a separate work phone, and sort of does the same job. It's not quite the same as being able to leave a work phone in a drawer in my office, but it's not a bad backup option. So yeah, I will leave the link to Your Business Number if that's something that you would like in your business. If you want a work number but don't necessarily want to pay for a work phone, then I will leave the link to Your Business Number in the show note. I feel like I should add a disclaimer that the link will be an affiliate link. This is by no means sponsored, but it is something that I genuinely use in my business and have been using for quite a long time now, so I would recommend it. Another thing I quite like about it is it doesn't require my clients to have an extra app. So I have thought about using Slack, and to be honest, it is something that I will probably switch to in the future. And I'm also part of Telegram communities, so that can work really well. But if you're conscious of asking your clients to download another app, depending on what kind of industry you're in, people know how to use WhatsApp, so it is a really good option. And I'm going to end today's episode on a cheesy quote, as always. And this might seem a little bit random when we've been talking about tools and systems, but actually just thinking about the way that the behind the scenes of the business has changed and shifted over the last few years has really made me realise that I did start scrappy, and a lot of us do, but I have just slowly improved things and not tried to do anything too drastic so that it's not constant change for my clients, but I feel like I am constantly evolving things, not just when it comes to keeping up with the latest trends and making sure I'm all over things when it comes to content strategy, but also the day-to-day, what my systems look like, what my processes look like, and trying to make that as easy as possible for my clients, to give them the best experience, and also to help me and my team do things as efficiently as possible. So on that note, today's cheesy quote is, "We tend to forget that baby steps still move us forward." Sometimes we just need the reminder that it's okay to go slow, and one of my favourite humans to look up to in the entrepreneurship space, Rachel Harris, accountant she, finance Barbie, whichever way you know her, and if you don't know her, then definitely go and give her a follow. She always says that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I hope I've not misquoted her there, but slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And yeah, this idea of just taking small actions to keep things moving, keep improving things, I feel like is actually very fitting for today's episode. I hope you found that interesting, whether it was just having a little nosy behind the scenes, or maybe you've discovered a new tool that will help you in your business. Please let me know. But I will leave the link to your business number in the show notes, and I will also leave a link to go and follow Rachel as well, who that final quote came from. But with that, I hope you have a gorgeous rest of your week, and I will be back in your ears next week. Bye!